You're listening to The Coaching Divas, a podcast for everyone navigating the twists and turns of corporate life.
Follow along as we chat through common workplace situations and extend the coach approach to help you handle them with ease.
We offer a cross-sectional view that spans generations, positions, workplaces, and lifestyles.
We're your hosts,
Claudia Jones,
Daniela Velkovic,
and Misha Jethba, and we are
The Coaching Divas.
Welcome back to The Coaching Divas, and today's episode is a little bit of a plot twist. This isn't just another conversation. It's going to be our last for a while. When we started this podcast, it was honestly a stretch. 3 coaches, 1 mic, and a lot of, are we really doing this energy? We wanted to have real conversations about work, life, and everything in between, with a coaching lens, but without the fluff. And somewhere along the way, it became something we are genuinely proud of. The conversations, the growth, the moments where we said things out loud and immediately thought, oh, wow, we're going there. And hearing that it actually helped people, now that part will never get old. But here's the thing no one really talks about. Creating consistency takes energy. And lately, we've been feeling that shift. So instead of forcing it, we're choosing to take a pause. Not because we don't care, but because we do. And we want to come back to this with the energy all of us deserve. So for now, we're hitting pause, taking what we've learned, what we've built, and giving ourselves space for whatever's next. And of course, we're going out with one more conversation worth having. So let's get into it.
So here we are. What started as I guess, an experiment really became a passion project over the last 2 years. So I do want to start this podcast by saying thank you to both of you for coming each month with energy, vigor, thought, and just a real sense of commitment to something that we really weren't sure where it was going to go. I mean, when we first launched it, I just thought of it as a podcast, as a creative project, and I guess a way for us to talk about leadership with 2 people that I really trusted. What I didn't understand was we were actually building a true public platform. And the way I look at it, one that would really outlast a single episode. And it's, now when I kind of think about it, it's a bit of a body of our professional work. So I'm proud of that.
Nicely said, Daniela. Yeah, and yes, by all means. I mean, I think it goes without saying that I couldn't have done this without the 2 of you. Getting very uncomfortable in a space I'm not very comfortable in. Public speaking has always been a challenge for me. So the fact that my voice is out there and, being listened by, when I take a look to how many downloads we've had on our podcast, I'm always amazed. So you certainly helped me get over a fear I've had. And I couldn't have done it without the 2 of you, because I know we started just meeting once a month and chatting to see how our practices were going. And Daniela, you had the brilliant idea of saying, hey, these are our discussions are similar to other discussions I've been hearing on podcasts. Why don't we try one? And at first I thought to myself, oh my God, no, I can't do this. Yet here we are, just over 2 years into this, and here we are. So for me, it's actually helped me with my public speaking that I have to do. So I thank the 2 of you for it. And yes, to your point, Daniela, we have such a safe space amongst the 3 of us. It's very trusting, very, very loving in a lot of ways. And I can't thank you enough for allowing us to do this. So I do encourage anybody else who's interested in doing something like this, get out of that comfort zone. You may just really kind of surprise yourself as to how far you've gotten. And the learnings, we have so much learnings. I've had so many learnings from the 2 of you. I couldn't ask for anything more. So thank you for that.
I have to agree. I mean, the amount of trust and safety that it took for the 3 of us to do this is large. And I don't think I could have done it with anybody else. So from that perspective, and also from the perspective of what we've created, thank you both. It feels like it's been an evolution in the sense of learning amongst each other, but also that I've had so much learning as well. I agree in the sense that it's like helped me with my public speaking, but more from the perspective of just like not being afraid to share my point of view and lean into a conversation. It doesn't have to be like, if we're not all on the same page, Misha, just don't say anything at all. And so it's given me that confidence to do that. It was such a area of discomfort because it was another way of putting myself out there. And that is not what I look to do naturally. And so this whole experience has been a massive test of putting myself out there. And what's interesting is how comfortable I got just letting myself flow, letting, my opinions come out. And even in post recording, in editing, I think of, and maybe this is too much behind the scenes, but our first couple episodes, we all had so many edits. We had so many critiques of ourselves, of what we said, how we said it, our mannerisms, things like that. And, you get to two years later, our edits, we listened to it and we're all like, yeah, we're good. No edits. Just like, yeah, we're good. Post it. And that to me in reflection is like, if I'm just speaking for myself, it was that evolution of really getting comfortable with my own voice, really getting comfortable with my own opinions and how it sounds, and not trying to perfect it in post editing. And it's like, however it's going to come out, it's going to come out. And that's totally fine, because that's who I am. And when I think of the element of putting yourself out there and truly being comfortable with how you are presented, I feel like that's what I've achieved in like this point now.
Yeah, what you're reminding me of is that this podcast was a bit of a thought leadership for me, that I didn't claim while I was doing it, but it really allowed me to speak my coaching philosophy repeatedly to an audience. And what I'm realizing now is it's a format that's both searchable, and my clients have used it. They've come back to it. And I think that is pretty powerful, but it also shows that, when you're speaking publicly, I think what I've learned is there's a level of precision that's required beyond my own private thinking. And you can't be vague with a microphone. I don't know for you guys, but you have to mean what you say. That's really stuck out at me.
Oh, no question. Yeah, no question about that.
You have to mean what you say. And the intentionality with which I shared my thoughts, I think, or that we shared our thoughts, I think, was something that was actually new. I don't know if I've ever been that intentional.
That's interesting that you say that, Danielle, about being that intentional. Because I think too, because you realize there are other people listening to you and you can't have that back and forth discussion, you are a bit more intentional with your words, making sure that the message you're trying to get across, you're getting it across much more clearly. Because sometimes I think out loud, which may or may not be a good thing. But it just certainly makes me realize just some of my thought processes and how I work and maybe how I come across to other people. And, is that something that I can improve on? Is that something I don't want to change? It really helps with a lot of self-reflection as to how we show up and what we're bringing forward for our clients, our coaches, even the people in our day-to-day life that we're trying to give guidance to. Right? How our words are coming out, because goodness knows I fumble over my words quite often. I'm trying to get better at that.
Also, just the ability or the skill set to think about an audience, others, while you're sharing an opinion. I think that's definitely something, by the sounds of it, we've all developed, because it's easy, I think, just to take your own stance and say something. But that intentionality that I think we've all brought forward of thinking, who might I be speaking for, right? We have the generational aspect amongst the three of us, but also then who might we be speaking to? That's definitely come across.
Yeah. The other layer to all of that is I actually, as I'm kind of thinking back to all of the different aspects that I've shared, there's a really personal vulnerability that came through. And when I think of all of the different topics we covered, it really blossomed for me the idea of, my goodness, what I've experienced. And there have been some true highs, but there have been some really true lows. And the need to reveal it in this medium and be okay with stating it also is an immense growth that I've seen. A number of those stories I wouldn't have shared publicly, ever. Right?
Oh, this is 1,000% been therapy.
This has been, and it's 1,000% therapy, but it's also never once did I compromise the idea of discretion in any of those stories. Never once did I feel that I was revealing something that is embarrassing or inappropriate. If anyone that comes across and chooses to listen to my podcast and may hear that story, never once was it delivered in a way that is negative. it was all in the spirit of, again, thought leadership and offering what I've experienced and what I've learned and how people that may see something similar actually help themselves through that situation.
I think that goes back to the safe space though that we created, because I agree there are things that I've shared on this podcast that I've never actually unpacked to anyone except myself. And so, I mean, that's where the therapy element came in for sure. But that even in listening back to some of those episodes where I've shared things or done those reflections in the moment, when I listen back to it, it's almost okay, Misha, yeah, like I'm okay with how I said it. There's nothing that I'm saying that's out of line or things like that. And it also served as this avenue for me to take the things that happen to you on a day-to-day, especially in a workplace, that you almost just absorb and you don't really think twice about it until you have a moment to have a very intentional conversation about it. And then you're able to unpack and really figure out, how did this impact me? I've been able to unpack so much of that I really don't think it impacts me anymore, because it's just all out there.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I always hope too that the generational thing as well, but also the experiences you've all had. I always hope that people listening into our podcast could recognize themselves in some of our stories. And I always hoped it helped them realize that they're not alone, and that whatever they're going through, others have gone through the same thing, and there is a way out. And that, like, almost like a little therapeutic piece, as you mentioned, Misha, but you're not alone. And what you're coming across, while you may think it's unique to you, there's always variations, but overall it's similar situations. And there are other people out there who can help you out or who've gone through the same thing. And maybe our podcast could trigger something for them to say, hey, maybe I could go this way or that way, or realize, hey, maybe there's other people out there who got through this, and they can maybe talk to people in their circle. It is not what we're telling them, but people in their circle could help them out with whatever situation they're in. Because, as much as we have this whole generational viewpoint in our podcast, we've all kind of experienced a lot of the same things, so it's not as though we're, that never happened to me. But you know what? In a lot of ways it has. And it's just, how did you approach it? How did you come about it? And just having, differences in our ages, our experience, our backgrounds, we just approached it differently. So I'm hoping people realize that whatever you're coming across, other people have come across the situation before. There is no one way to address things. There's different ways to address, and hopefully, we give them some choices as to how to get out of a situation or improve a situation or change a situation, whatever you need to be done. And if you can't get it from us, maybe there's someone in your circle that you can maybe reach out to, and get some guidance from them, because nothing makes me sadder when I hear that people think they're all alone. And that's the one thing I really want to make sure that we gave the message to other people, that, you're not alone. Others have faced this as well. And there is always a solution to whatever you're coming across.
Yeah. And I think we've also, I love the way you framed that up, Claudia, because the one thing that I always wanted to see was, how do we play and let's test the theory. Are the three generations really that different?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I had to kind of bottom line it for the audience, the reality is the situations contextually may be different, but the behaviors, the experiences, the responses are more common than we think. Even the egos and the drivers of ambition is more common than we think.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter what decade you were experiencing it in. As I'm just kind of reflecting back, the common theme is the human, right? The common theme is the trust. The common theme is integrity. And the common theme is, what do you want to actually walk away with, right? It isn't as, I know we all talk about the boomer battle, the X battle, the Gen Zers, we're all so different, but we're not. We're actually, at the end of the day, in the corporate space, we're human. Those drivers are still common, even though the tools and the experiences and maybe some of the ways that we have conversations have shifted. That's unique. I don't know how many people have come to that realization as they kind of evolve.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's because I always say too, the end goal is the same. It's how we get there may vary, and that comes across in language, some behaviors, timing. But yeah, but the end goal is always tends to be the same. As long as you have the end goal is the same, you will get there. Maybe a bit of a rocky road, but you will get there. And I think you just have to remember that when we're trying to get to the same place safely, and we should be okay. Pack your patience, as I tell my daughters a lot of times. Just pack your patience, because we'll get there.
If I were to shift us a little bit here in conversation, what are you all most proud of in this journey?
Honestly, co-creation is a relationship, and relationships require tending. The reality is we have 3 very different voices, but we were able to bring those voices together and model honest collegial relationship building with women in leadership. And we really balanced each other out in a very beautiful way.
Yeah. The fact that we're still, after 2 years, we're still doing it. And the only reason we're really stopping is maybe because, not stopping, pausing, I have to correct that. It's just because maybe we just need a little bit of a rest, if nothing else. It's just the fact that we're doing it. It just amazes me. And that goes back to what Daniela was saying. There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of safety. And we're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and feel what we can. And just the fact that we're able to do this together and off we go. It's quite something, really, when you think about it.
I agree. Simply put, the fact that we did it is what I'm most proud of, and what it takes to actually do it. So the amount of collaboration there had to be between the 3 of us, how comfortable we were sharing our opinions with each other, but also disagreeing sometimes, but still moving forward as the coaching divas, as a single approach, tackling topics that sometimes we weren't the most comfortable with, but we did it anyway. So, even though we were in this space of a podcast and that was uncomfortable, sometimes we pushed our comfort even further and still came out on the other side better off, more informed, maybe exposed to something that we didn't previously consider. And so to me, it's been such an enriching experience from that perspective. And that's what makes me so proud of the fact that we just did it.
Actually, it just maybe to tag on that a little bit. The fact that we had 3 guest speakers and nobody hesitated to say, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, they actually listened to our podcast and they were like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll love to sit in on your podcast, which always made me feel, wow, people actually listening to us. And they're not saying, oh, no, I can't participate in that. No, I don't agree with that. But they're actually willing to do it. Again, just to tag on to that a little bit, when I'm out with, people I don't see very often, and they'll say, oh, I was listening to your podcast the other day. And I'm like, really? I'm just so honored that they're listening to our podcast, that it makes you realize it's bigger than, the 3 of us sitting at home virtually recording and hoping, keeping our fingers crossed that somebody's listening to it, because they are listening to us. And so the impact is there. And that's all, to me, that's all I really want to do, is just, if I could influence people just a little bit, I feel I'm doing well.
I think my biggest honor was, and I didn't tell anybody when I was teaching, I didn't tell them I had a podcast. And I had a student come up to me one day and said, I Googled you. You have a podcast? And I'm like, yes, I do, actually. It's about leadership in the workplace. Oh, see, it's so cool. I'm going to listen more. And I just, it's the recognition. I've been caught in the wild kind of thing. That was my own imposter syndrome was like, okay, yeah, I need to start telling people stuff. But then also, there's just such a wealth of information and knowledge that's been shared in the 26 episodes that we've recorded. I am so honored when a coachee says, I'm really struggling with this, and I can say, hey, go and listen to this and that, and let's talk about it next time. And I'm not here. I mean, when we first started out, we were like, well, is this going to help us with our business or not? At this point, I'm just glad that I've produced and I've had this creative element to share with people, and it is there. And I think that for me is such a powerful message of value as well. As much as it feels good for me, I'm glad that my thoughts are out there. They'll be there as long as I want them to be there. And that's almost, there's like a free notion in that idea.
That's good. Yeah.
I think what I've realized with the podcast is, aside from actually recording, and yes, we have a great editor who supports us on the other side. Thank you, Emily. There is a lot of work on us as coaches as well to be Number one, coming up with topics. Number two, being ready to talk about those topics. Number three, actually being vulnerable enough to share our own experiences, but then convert that experience into something tangible that you as a listener can walk away with. Number four, I think there is a level of, at some point, and I think I've reached that point personally, where I don't have much else to offer right now in terms of what else can I suggest. And I don't like to say that out loud, but I'm going to say it because I believe in being vulnerable. For me, what I want to offer to our listeners are words of wisdom. And right now, those words of wisdom are a bit dry. And so I do think, when we think about where do we put our energy, we also want to put our energy, I want to put my energy into where my passions are flowing. And for me, that's coming out now as where else can I be coaching people? And what I mean by that is I'm putting a pin in the podcast at this point, the Coaching Divas podcast. That doesn't mean I won't unpin it in the future.
I resonate with that. I also think too, from an energy perspective, there's such a intentionality that comes with how we show up when we have our recording days. And to the point you made of thinking of a topic, but also thinking about how to talk about that topic and the prep that goes in from that perspective. If you're feeling your energy is shifted, it's hard to keep up with that consistency. Personally speaking, I'm currently playing tug of war with a puppy and recording this podcast. And so my hands are full. There's more than just a puppy going on in my life, but it's the moment for me to recognize and admit that my energy needs to shift to other areas of my life at the moment. And just as Daniela said, it's not that I'm completely walking away and will never come back. It's a book that you put on the shelf. I'm putting it on the shelf, and I will come back and continue to engage with it when the time is right.
Nicely said by the two of you. And I just want to add to that is it doesn't matter what stage of your life you're at or your work career you're at. Energies change. And sometimes you have more energy and other times you have less energy. And you can't say, oh, no, they're not working or they're just working part-time. So they have a lot of time and effort for this. But you do fill your time with other things. And so, yeah, it's the energy piece that really is coming up for me for sure. And for all of us is that it's work. It's work putting a podcast together. And as much as it's fun and enjoyable, you want to be there. You want to be present. You want to show up for the people who are listening and give them your all so they can feel appreciated. And I do. I am so appreciative of people who listen to our podcast. I want to make sure I'm showing up properly for them. I can't change it any more than what the two of you already said. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so Misha, Daniela, the Coaching Diva is our last words, just for now. Our last words for now. Any lasting memories or thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
I thanked the two of you, and so I think I'll take a moment to thank our listeners. Thanks for trusting us. Thanks for tuning in every month and keeping yourself open to hearing other perspectives and taking forward anything that we shared in a positive way. I think that takes intentionality in yourself as well. And so wherever we supported you on your journeys, thank you for trusting us.
Wow, that's really powerful. I'm going to be a little self-centered and I'm going to thank myself.
Amen.
In this moment. And I'm going to thank myself because I want our listeners to know that getting out of your comfort zone is one of the most powerful growth opportunities. Mm-hmm. Stepping into building relationships and in different ways and transferring that stretch that you go through as you experience something new is a gift for yourself. I also want to add that even though this is an ending in where it is right now, what I really did not want us to do is to drift into what I call a slow fade. So I'm really glad that we are doing this in this way and that we're shifting with care. And I want our listeners to know that in every experience that you have, think of where co-creation can support you in going to the next level, then doing the next thing. I don't think we spend enough time talking about co-creation sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I invite you to be thinking about, instead of using words like, I have to work with someone, think about how can you create a better experience.
Beautiful, yeah. Yeah, just to tag on to that, Danielle, I think I mentioned it earlier, but, get out of your comfort zone. You'd be surprised what you find at the other end. It really is really worthwhile. And I couldn't ask for two better co-hosts, co-creators of this project, because it's been an absolute honor for me to work with the two of you. And yeah, thank you to all our listeners. I feel like I'm repeating what you two are saying, but there really is so much that we always tend to agree on, and very appreciative of all that. Lastly, I do want to thank our editor. We've been working with a woman named Emily DeClue, to Ultimate Creative, and she's been a great partner in our production. She's the one who got us started on this. She showed us, helped us find music, even helped us determine what kind of microphones to use. So kudos to her for helping us walk through all that. So thank you, Emily. We certainly do appreciate everything that you've done for us. And for me, to you, thank you so much, Misha and Daniela. I mean, it's been just so much fun working together. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to put this on the shelf for now, but I certainly hope we get together before too long. So thank you both. And as for the last time, well, not for last time, but for now, I'm going to say from the Coaching Divas, we thank you all for listening. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Divas. Thanks for listening to The Coaching Divas. If you've enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and follow us on Instagram at The Coaching Divas.
Your ratings and reviews help more people like you find our podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone you think would love it.
Until next time, we are
Claudia Jones,
Daniela Velkovic,
and Misha Jethba, The Coaching Divas.
If you're going to coach, might as well coach like a diva.